What is going on, guys? Welcome back, Locked In Nation, to, the Locked In Podcast. We've made it another year. This is going to be year 3. 2.5 full years, almost 2.5. But because we started in September 2020, it's about our third New Year's episode here. Again, it is just me tonight. George is still on hiatus until, we're looking at next week as a possible return date. We'll see how things transpire, how things play out ultimately. We have to have one of our behind the scenes, podcast meetings first. It's usually what we do to kind of set up monthly meetings, especially this one for the new year. Guys, the title is very simple tonight. It's a New Year special episode. And while it is only me here right now, I invite any of you, if you want to come on, to join. If it's just me, I plan on keeping this about 40 to 45 minutes. I understand that it is a Friday night. It is the night before New Year's Eve, and that we were not able to go live at a normal scheduled day, which was yesterday, due to some crazinesses in the schedule. One thing that I plan, and we're going to talk goals tonight, but it's going to be relatively simple, relatively quick, and I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but we're going to talk goals. And one of the things is getting promotion out quicker, getting it out earlier. It's going to be one of the bigger ones for this year, for this platform, for this podcast. I welcome you all to join in. Right now it looks like it's slow getting people in here, which, it makes sense because it is a Friday night. And like I said, it is the night before New Year's Eve. A lot of people probably have family and friends that are around. So it's understandable. I'm not too worried about the views on this one. That's why it's not a personal development episode. It's nothing that's going to teach people, because I obviously want a lot of viewers to come to those episodes, obviously, if I'm going to be teaching something. So that's why I just wanted to keep this one very simple tonight. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you are not already subscribed, and double check, because sometimes you think you are, but you're not. And we want to get that subscriber count up. We appreciate all you who have already subscribed. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can also just smash the like button if you appreciate our content, because as always, we appreciate it and it helps the algorithm. Also, if you see something you like tonight or in any episode, we always encourage the feedback, and we will post your comments on here for everybody, it's where you can chime back and forth on a back and forth discussion. If you want to keep something private, you can always personal DM me or anybody here who's part of Locked In Nation at the Locked In Podcast. And also, number 3, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast. It is the end of 2022, guys. Be true and be you. Appreciate time, appreciate life. So as I said, I haven't played the intro yet, but I'm going to keep this one relatively quick tonight, about 35, 40 minutes, if nobody decides to comment in or wants to come on. I have not posted the link to the stream down in the comments. However, if you would like to come on, just either comment in or, shoot me. I got my phone right here, so you can shoot me a text. You can DM me, whatever the case may be. I will see the comment and I'll bring you on. Essentially tonight, what we're talking, 2023, some goals. I'm going to keep it, a couple personal ones that are to me. So a lot of my goals I like to keep relatively quiet. I don't really like to talk too much. I'd rather just do the action behind the scenes. So it's kind of called shadow work. I feel like sometimes if you talk too much about something, it manifests bad energy. So, but I will share some personal goals of mine for this year. And then also here at the podcast, where we have talked behind the scenes here at Locked In Nation, some things that we want to grow and work on for the podcast this year. As this is going to be essentially our third year here at the podcast. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Like I said, looks like a couple people have come in. Welcome to the stream. I will play the intro. And also, got a little sidetrack there. On top of 2023 goals, I do want to show just some snippets or just something. I want to go through the analytics of some of the most popular episodes from 2022, kind of like a year in review type thing. I don't have a fancy reel or anything like that, but I'll share my screen. We'll look at some of the most famous episodes, which you might be surprised which ones were actually very popular category wise. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to play the intro and I will see you on the other side. Enjoy. All right, guys, as I stated, welcome back to the Lock-In Podcast. I see some people have actually come in since the intro, so welcome to the stream tonight. Relatively simple episode tonight. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be long, especially if nobody comments in. People comment in, obviously, I will allocate the time for everybody to be able to talk. Don't plan on going any longer than an hour and 15, though, I'll be honest. But welcome in. Crazy that we are here, year 3 of the podcast. I honestly didn't really know what to make of where we'd be with it when I first started it. It started out as like a hobby type thing, but I did create like a whole mission and everything. But I didn't know how long, like if something crazy kind of popped up or how long we'd be doing this, but I'm still here 2.5 years later. It's very wild because it's when we started this, we were in a very crazy time with COVID. But I'm blessed to be here on the mic. I'm blessed to the people that I've met. I'm very, very grateful. And it makes me, practice mindfulness to really appreciate all the experiences that this podcast has made me, brought to me. So grateful to be here for a third New Year's with the podcast. Like I said, it's going to be relatively quick episode, 35 to 40 minutes max, especially if nobody comments in to come on or wants to comment back and forth, which is fine because I know that everybody's probably very busy. It's a Friday night before New Year's Eve. But I'm going to share some 2023 goals, personal small ones on ones for the podcast, and also going to go through some of the most popular episodes of this podcast in 2022. And I think I will start there realistically. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to pull up. I didn't go into YouTube Studio for this one. I just kept it really easy. I went right on our webpage. You can find all of this. You can literally find all of this if you go to our YouTube page. And it's right under the Locked In Podcast. Or you can just search my name up there as I did. And you can find us here. And you just click on the live on the thing. And you can find all this. But I was looking at the YouTube Studio. But you can actually also see our views under a lot of these videos. But some of the most popular episodes, guys, believe it or not, I do a lot of these personal development ones, but I feel like they don't get as many views. People tend to like entertainment as much, and I notice people who also have podcasts when it comes to like money management and like grinding and like glowing up in this life. A lot of people don't always focus on that type of content. It's more just entertainment stuff people want to see a lot more. Which is fine. It's one of the things that, it has kind of made us realign, not our mission, but like maybe how we're going to produce episodes. I think one of the biggest ones is when guests come on, they get the most views, right? Like this one, I don't expect to get a ton of views because it is kind of just me talking at the moment. But the ones with guests, we want to try to get a guest on almost every single week in 2023. That I'll announce right now is one of our goals here at the podcast. for 2023. But one of the biggest ones, and I've seen it, there's a pattern here with the analytics, have been relationships. So we did an after hours one here. This was after hours number 2. It got 50. It got essentially 50 plus views, and then we had another one that was our most for the year. That had a lot down here. It was episode 90. That was after hours part 1. So the after hours ones did very, very well, analytic wise. And then we also had just even the dating ones in general, like the non-after hours ones, got lots of views. And one of the biggest ones, shout out to my buddy Bill Plymouth on the stream, the ketamine trials. I think that was a very interesting one. Bill talked about his experience going through a ketamine study, and he also talked about Muay Thai, mixed martial arts. But I think the ketamine stuff really drew people in. We talked mental health this year. We talked even the Chris Rock one. You see, it had a lot of views, but it's mainly because it's entertainment. A lot of people tend to like to see entertainment, and that's one thing we're noticing. You know, we get very passionate about personal development, but they don't get as many views realistically going through 2022 here as a little year in review walkthrough here. But we always encourage. So I encourage anybody who's watching, don't be shy to comment. You know, we're going to probably take a poll of what people want to see the most of, but it looks like people tend to like the relationships and dating episodes that we do here. So that's one of the big things, and also having guests on. We're still going to have entrepreneurs on no matter what, because that's one of the biggest things that we were founded on. But personal development gets further when you have guests on, because it brings new faces, right? It brings people in. So, yeah, no, the biggest episodes that have been dating this year. And so for the dating ones, we can thank Devin Love came on for this one. It was after hours number 2. Rich Mitchell and Rob LaVenture, both those guys have been, recurring guests on the podcast. Desi Ramos has come on for After Hours Part 2, which was a great one. And the first time it was Candace Scott that came on. So thank you, Candace, as well. But we've just had lots of different guests throughout 2022. I want to give my shout outs to almost everybody. We can see who we can walk through here. So we had a lot of different ones here. We had Rich, I said already. We had for a lot of these, we had Dan Carnegie. Dan's a great guy. I've met Dan in real life through George. He's a really, really great guy. Dan, he talked about bare knuckle boxing. Another one that got a lot of views. Is very interesting topic. We had Layla Ozer on for mental health and mindfulness. Another great episode. And again, it got a solid view count. We also had, as I said, Bill Plymouth. You saw that one. Marius Raffaelli, another one. He's essentially part of Locked In Nation here, as are a couple of the other guys here. They've essentially been very recurring guests, and sometimes they help out with things behind the scenes here. So they are a part of this squad, of this organization here, as you all are as viewers. But they're some of our behind the scenes guys. We also had another one with the metaverse again. That was Bill. A lot of good ones here. Another one in the summer, we had kind of recurring guests here. Guests back to back. Joel Cervantes, that guy is an absolute beast. I thank Joel for coming on in 2022. Matt Lee, another guy who's absolutely killing it right now in the fitness industry. Matt Lee is very well known in the tri-state area. A lot of people. He's an online fitness coach. Solid guy that came on in the summer for us. And as you see, some of these are recurring guests. Rich and Mario, Rob again. Yeah. And the real estate episode, it got a decent amount of views, but again, we just see personal development doesn't tend to get as much as like relationships and dating and the entertainment episodes. When something's hot, people want to talk about it. The Chris Rock one got a lot of views, essentially. But that's one of the bigger things this year. We're looking to try to get a guest on almost every week. Welcome to everyone who's joined. I see a few people have joined in. I appreciate that. Anybody who's in, I'm keep this one relatively short tonight because I know it is a Friday night. I know that it is the day before New Year's Eve, and our normal scheduled day is Thursday. But unless people comment in, if anybody wants to come on or just wants to share, I see there is a comment. Let me look at the thing. We do have we have a comment in here, but before I post that. It's kind of funny. Before we get to that, I wanted to say, yeah, if you want to come on the podcast tonight at all, I'm only planning 35 to 40 minutes. However, if anybody does want to come on and share their thoughts, I will allocate time. Max, I'll probably go into an hour and 15 if people do decide to, pop on. If not, that's completely fine. One of the things we do want to increase in 2023 is engagement, better marketing, better promotion, getting them out quicker, having a guest on almost every single week. Essentially, upping our subscriber count. We really want to get the subscriber count on YouTube up huge, because that really allows us to continue doing what we're doing. It's great, to offer advice and stuff, but as you're busy, it becomes difficult when things aren't essentially monetized, just on a realistic level. So it's difficult to do that, with your subscriber count. You have to continuously up that. But I see there's a comment here. I'm the CEO of the company. So I went through who's a part of the team here and the people who have done things in the past. So I think I can kind of probably pinpoint who this is. However, I will look. Let's see. No, it's actually somebody who has not been on the podcast. It's my buddy Nate. Nate said I am the CEO of the company. Funny guy over there. Nate, you got to come on one of the episodes, man. You can't be the CEO. You can't even one of behind the scenes guys yet. I'll invite you on for a future episode this year, man. I got to get you on here. But Nate's a good friend of mine, and just want to wish him a happy New Year. Happy New Year, Nate. It's my buddy Nate Walker over there. But like I said, yeah, there's a lot of things that we have for goals for this year, but upping the engagement here is one of the biggest ones. Having guests on almost every week. That requires planning, talking to people, and just getting people on here, essentially. But I'm excited for a new year. However, I always like to tell people this. If you're going to make a change, you don't always have to wait till the new year, right? A lot of people tend to always decide to make a change around this time. And the problem is there's a difference between motivation and discipline. So I always say this. If you're motivated to do something one day, chances are you might not be motivated to do it the next day. And that's when things become challenging, because you have a decision to make. If you don't feel like going to the gym, you were motivated one day, but you're not the next, you have a decision to make. Are you going to go or you're not going to go? Because you might not be in the best mood to go. That's the thing. That's when things get challenging. Discipline's big. And a lot of people are motivated to do a lot of different things at the beginning of a new year. But then as they start to realize that they're not taking action, they start to just give up. And that happens a lot. Last year, I think our episode was called New Year, New Me. Tips for a legitimately good year, habits to build. And that's what it is. It's called habits, which means even if you're not motivated, you do it anyway, and it builds habits inside your brain, inside your mind. That's a big one. So it becomes challenging. You have to really find out the difference between discipline and motivation, because there is a difference. There is a difference. Let's see one of the most. I'm gonna play maybe one of these episodes. We'll just, not the whole thing. We'll just try to find clips. I'll click Bill's with the ketamine one. This was a big one.
That's what you say you took from your experiences, man. Because it really does change your just regular daily life. Even in the morning when I wake up, I feel different as opposed to, let's say a month ago when, oh my God, trying to get out of bed was an absolute disaster.
Right. It's been like a perspective and mental shift from what happened before that. Mm-hmm. So your mental state coming into the new year was in a completely different spot than you would probably say where it is right now.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say I started off the new year in a worse position than I have been in previous years.
Do you guys see that right there? As crazy as it is, we're talking about New Year right now. And we talked last year to Bill. I think this episode was in March or April. We talked to Bill about his experiences with ketamine, and he was actually in a really, really bad spot this year. I just saw Bill on Tuesday catching up with some old friends from high school over the holiday season, and Bill seems to be really thriving right now in his life. Obviously, he always sees room for improvement. That's how Bill is. Bill's a hardworking guy, but this is just an example. look on the things you have to be grateful for this year, because Bill, I can say, he's in a great spot right now, but last year, he said he was not in a good spot. And this podcast has brought people like me and Bill back together. I went to high school with Bill, but this podcast and this platform allowed me and Bill to reconnect in real life. And now, he's one of my good buds now to this day. And I hadn't really talked to him since high school. Before this podcast. So these are the types of things just to be grateful for. I'm grateful that, this brought me and some of my old friends closer together, and it's allowed me to also meet new people, because George knows different people than I do, or I got friends who have come on this podcast who have brought people on who that they know, which is great. Guests that have been on here, and that's how it is. It's a network, right? It's like a spider web. It's all different people know. Everybody knows different people. So you get to meet cool people through different connections that you have, which is great. That's cool that Bill was able to do that. But this was one of the biggest viewed episodes, the ketamine ones. Relationship, we had Candace Scott for this one. It was After Hours Part 2. Oh, Part 1.
Take advantage of therapy. If it's getting to the point where you're not consistent and you're not communicating, it doesn't hurt to talk to someone to help, basically put a plan into place to help get better or get out of that.
100%. And I think that's the one thing about our generation is people tend to not back in the old days. I'm not saying back in the baby boomer generations and everything. But how do I put it?
Old enough to know better, but you still got some discoveries ahead of you. So, sometimes you don't know what to do with all the love you're seeking attention. You're like, okay, she loves me, I love her, but I gotta be in the gym. But then you're like, well, fuck the gym. I'm gonna smoke a blunt and go hang out with my girl, and do what we gotta do, and then watch the movie and relax. That's the killer of everything. The killer of ideas and of consistency. What do you call it? We talked about it last week, man. Basically, we talked about procrastination stuff that Steve a few weeks ago. The killer of productivity, number one killer, and also kind of make things procrastinate this. Sometimes too much pleasure, too much relaxation.
Yeah.
Hi, D'Angelo.
Yeah, too much relaxation. It's all mine. Hey, D'Angelo, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in.
D'Angelo, next friend D'Angelo.
100%. I think
So that was a big one last year, and then I want to go to After Hours Part 2, which was also a big one. Just another one.
Things are kind of on the okay, or it's just good enough to push it to oh, this is A+ for me or whatever. People have to talk about, women, there's so much shame for women around owning your pleasures. So we have to give women more of the space to own their orgasm. We're not having both sides. We're not having these conversations. Therefore, it's just, it's a really difficult conversation to bring up, to have it, and we all survive through it, kiss and make up, and everything's cool in the end. It doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Desi, to answer your question, I would say, it could be multiple reasons, but two of the biggest ones I would say is, number one, the man may be afraid of how the woman's going to react because they're.
Yeah, so these were a couple of our popular ones here. With the relationships ones, and we had dating ones too that I'll play some things too. I also want to click on Joel's episode there just because Joel's a good dude, and I know he offered a lot. Vanita commented in, she said, "I love the After Hours episode." Yeah, a lot of people tend to like those ones because they're dating and relationship focused, so they're a little bit juicy. They get a lot of people, intrigued, which is good, to be honest. So it's one of those. It's entertainment, but it's also helpful. It's insightful as well. Let's see. With this one here, which are all.
Before we do, guys, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, smash the like.
I think my audio was a little choppy in this episode.
It's always fun. That's open time.
My audio was very choppy in this episode, unfortunately.
Not everybody's going to be.
It's how you approach it, basically. How you go about it. You know what I mean? Your perception on it, and you're gonna do it. You're gonna act on it. You're gonna go with people saying, some people, society, people that are doubters, or you're gonna kind of think for yourself and just do what you gotta do and be inspired. People be like, "Oh, we guys look up to these guys, the king, this and that." It's not about if the guy be the king. They're just inspirational, motivational figures, and they do the thing. You don't gotta just like them, but take something away from them. Try to be a little bit like them at least. I mean, because I mean, what Evan says is absolutely true, and that's a great way to look at life. You don't gotta be running like that, but you can definitely run and stay in shape and just be the best you can be and build up intensity, pressure, you know?
Yeah,
Pressure,
exactly.
pressure,
Yeah, intentional training, all of it. I mean, it depends on what you want to do too. I mean, you do mixed martial arts, so I'm sure you have like maybe a black belt you look up to, an idol that you find inspiration from, and stuff like that.
Sure,
You know,
yeah.
you see, just like anyone else, you're going to school, you're in an academy, you're doing this. Like, there's always someone you can look up to. So it's always someone outworking you. So instead of feeling like I don't know, like you can't read, it's impossible. Like you just try going up there. And like circling back to my point too, is like people do these amazing things and we hold them high. It's like, wow, it's cool. I want to be like them. So you start doing things. You look and
Yeah, this one was an earlier one of the day. I think we went live at 1 or 2 p.m. on this one because Joel has a very busy schedule. But I always like Joel's shirt there. It says kindness wins the day. It says kindness wins, win the day. I like that shirt. It's a good shirt. So that was Joel. I also want to bring Matt on here. Let's see. We have Matt too for one of the episodes the next few weeks. Matt's another one, like I said, online fitness coach.
University up in right by Villanova, actually. She was like this super well known, like Olympia. If you don't know what that is, like Olympia is like the highest level you can go for competing. Super well known in that, like a lot of top 5 finishes there her entire career. She approached me one day just because she knew that I was like this big gym rat. She was like, hey, like I see you in there busting your ass all the time. She's like, there's actually something that you can do if you want to take this to the next level on this competing side of things. So I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll give it a try. So her husband actually coached me and really showed me the ropes for competing for the first like 3 years. And during this time, I bought a little camera and I started documenting my entire journey on Instagram, on YouTube especially. And again, if you guys would ask me back then what I'd be doing, what I do now, I would have no idea. Like, absolutely not. I don't think any of this would be possible.
Yeah, Matt's another one who's come a very long way. I'm blessed to have met Matt and blessed to have known Matt. Podcast is one of the things that kind of brought me and Matt together as well this year, because that's kind of how we met. Matt's a great guy. This podcast, it's been a blessing. It's honestly been a blessing to see all of you here. We've talked sports multiple times, right? We got to see the Sixers one. We've had the Eagles ones as well here on the podcast, which have been great. Philly sports in general. Dan was another one that came on. Dan, another great guy. This one was a long one, 2 hours and 25 minutes.
York, you had the character Bill the Butcher, played by Daniel Day-Lewis. That character is based off of a real person, William Poole.
I think what Dan did was he actually wound up switching to like a phone, which got better quality.
Oh, like your hands are strong, but they're going to check. They feel like your hands are on fire and they're paralyzed. I mean, they feel like they're just problem.
What happened was this lady, this lady was giving her son a bath. Her son, was a toddler. He was a little kid. Giving him a bath, and she noticed that his rear was red, swollen, sore, and hurt the touch. And took him to the hospital. They did an exam and came back, that he was molested. And one of the things they did was they had a counselor come in and talk to this kid. And after the counselor was done, all the eyes were pointed at this daycare center. And as the police were investigating, more victims. And we're actually going to put that in quote marks because most of these kids, none of these kids except for the one were actual victims. But
Dan knows a lot of history. He's got a lot of facts where you can always point things out. A lot of history. You can always see the live chat that kind of came on too here for us on the right side. I think Hollis had come on, but he was prior to the New Year last year. We had societal pressure, and then it was New Year's 2022 last year. See where we were at with New Year's last year. The first.
You might not always have the freedom to travel. You know what I mean? You might have the money now. You might have the financial freedom to travel, but you're like, I don't want it.
You're gonna have the convenience, and that
you're outside your comfort zone. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, believe me, it's not always comfortable to solo travel, but I just went and did it because I'm like, you know what? You got to push your boundaries. You got to push your comfort zone sometimes.
I'll give a salute to Danielle. She's in San Francisco right now, but she was living in Vermont and working at a top-notch restaurant. But now she's a career in San Francisco. She'll come probably like a coming year, like between January and February. You know, so we can bring her in early this year. She was supposed to be through like last summer, but you know, just things went a little different. Other people that we had, my boy, shout out to my man Bob Carson. He came through. He did a good one. We're like, again.
It's another one who came on this year, Bob Carson, another great guy, another good guy come on. We recently had Will Edelstein too. That was a great episode. I'm going to bring that one up. But last year it's crazy. I was actually sipping some alcohol last year. Not this year. Let's see. Where did Will come on? Yeah, this was actually the one with Will. We had Will Edelstein on.
Let's go. Awesome, man. Out of curiosity.
I can see it, but I don't. Man, it's a big.
Do on a regular basis.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, yeah, Jordan, don't answer your question. I feel like everything today has to be like almost every industry has to be digital. You know, it's because I mean, if you're not online, it's going to be very easy to get left behind. It's going to be very hard for people to find you if you're not utilizing the free networks that you can use online. I mean, obviously, you can pay for a website, everything else like that. But there is just so much like free channels like social media where you can use the internet to literally market your product for free. Websites are a good investment too. Obviously, you purchase the URL, you purchase
everywhere, digitally, in real life. You know what I mean? Like everywhere, you need to be as many places as you can. But to be able to do it digitally, to be able to do it.
Will came on and talked about his medical marijuana, supply company. It was called it's called Jewish Sauce Boss, based off of his cultural preference, based off of it's a little bit of his culture with him being Jewish, and then sauce is considered for like marijuana. I got the sauce, and then the boss as himself. So that was a great episode that we had with Will, but just a lot of great content throughout the year. Realistically, and then last week, obviously, we had Rob and Mario back on to talk about the Eagles. We were going into the Dallas game, but we had a lot of good stuff. Let me stop sharing my screen here. I'll go right back to where I was. So there was just a lot of cool stuff this year, and it makes me grateful for all the experiences and all the that I've had and all the people I essentially have met throughout. And this year, personal goals wise, there's a couple different things I want to do. I want to challenge myself in different areas. I feel like I hit the gym a lot this year. I worked out a lot, and I stayed very true to my workout regimen. I do want to have more mindful eating. Eating more. I mean, nutritious is a very general word to say, but just kind of using food as fuel. I've dropped some weight this year and also put on and able to maintain muscle mass, which has been great. The gym has just been great for my mental health, but continue to hit the gym health wise, keep myself in the best shape that I can possibly be in, because without my health, I'm not able to operate at full strength and achieve all my other goals. So that's paramount right there. Career wise, I have a lot of different career goals I want to reach. And there's different types of things I want to do business wise. Like I said, I don't want to talk too much about exactly what I'm doing, but career and health are two of my biggest ones this year, as well as also just taking the time to really work on growing my relationships with others around me. So friendships, I feel like I haven't really put too much towards friends and family as much throughout this year. So it's one thing I might want to get back to. And I do feel like this for a lot of people. I'm seeing that this is a big year for self-care for a lot of people, because now we're 2 years out of the pandemic. A lot of people are tending to now want to work on getting themselves. Essentially, most people are back out there, right? It's been 2 years, but a lot of people have kind of amped back up again, right? So now they need to find the way to slow back down a little bit and take care of themselves. I'm not saying that you should not work hard. That is not what I'm saying. You should always be out striving to grind, learn, work hard, and really make an imprint on this world because, you only live once. And one of the biggest things you can do is leave a legacy here. So always work hard, but definitely try to find the balance. It's tough. It's challenging. Everybody's schedule is different, but the balance is very important. I mean, it might not be the exact ideal balance that you want. Some people work 80 hours a week. Some people work 100 hours a week. But even in the other, 88 hours or 78 hours or 58 hours, whatever it is, you got to find, I think, a little bit of time for self-care. I do think it is important. Recovery is important. What do they call that? There's a word for it. It's just R&R, rest and relaxation. It's important to have that recovery because when you're not recovered, you're not operating at your highest level. It's very difficult for you to achieve everything you want to do. One of the things I did here is a lot of people will tell you to set obtainable goals. I'm actually going to challenge this notion. I was listening to an audiobook, and they said, don't set attainable goals, set unreachable goals, because this is an interesting point here. Obtainable goals, a lot of times you'll try to achieve below that because that's where your goal is. But if you set an unreachable goal, you might actually achieve the goals that you really wanted to achieve because you're working even harder to try to get that unreachable goal, even though you're not going to be able to get that within a year, but it's going to cause you to work harder, right? You're going to put in 10 times the amount of work that you would trying to achieve an attainable goal. And I think there is some truth to that. So it's just something to think about. Now, people that will tell you to achieve attainable goals, they probably mean very well for you. A lot of people tend to call that, they just don't want to see you fail. But failure is a part of life. The most successful people in the world, they fail a lot. They fail more than others, more than the average person fails, because they're always willing to try things and change and take action. That just comes with it. But another thing is less. This is one of my biggest goals, even though it's not being too descriptive, so I don't like to reel a ton. But this one is just, I want to consume less entertainment content. So watching YouTube videos that are just for entertainment purposes, Netflix, Hulu, like all that stuff, I want to do less of, and try to focus on consuming content that is going to help me learn and grow in different areas of my life, and also produce more content. Put out more content. So instead of consuming mindless content, producing more content. Or some of the big ones. Learning to cook different things, traveling more. I'm going to be traveling quite a few times this year because I have a bachelor party or two to go to where we're going to be traveling, and then a couple friends are getting married. Also, I have a trip planned out in a couple months. So I am going to travel and just trying to, just continue to grow and make big life moves here. This year was a big one. And then I finally got my new car this year, but there was a lot of small ones that I could go through. But this podcast has been, it's been a great one. It's been the people I have met, the people that, will hit me up and text me out. I met on this podcast. Yo, bro, you good? Like, check in. Like, those people, you just appreciate people because, you never know who you're going to meet through experiences like this. And you stop doing something like this, you don't meet as many people. But this has been a hell of an experience. Honestly, like I said, this is the third New Year's episode. And I'm just grateful for each and every one of you guys. I also want to say I hope everybody had a great holiday weekend last weekend with Christmas Eve, whether you celebrate that, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Just want to celebrate happy holidays. Hope you guys had a great one. I wanted to kind of start off with that, but kind of forgot to mention it. I do want to thank Robin Marius for coming on last week to contribute to the Eagles episode. That was a great one. A lot of good feedback on that one. But guys, we got the Saints this weekend, so we'll see what happens. They got to clinch the number 1 seed. They got to continue to play hard. With that being said, though, we are over 40 minutes in, longer than I said I was really going to go. But, I mean, we did have the intro and all the other stuff that took up minutes. So I'm actually going to probably end about right here. To be honest, people have tuned in. I appreciate everybody that has tuned in tonight. But I know that it's a busy time right now. New Year's Eve's right around the corner. But I'm excited for the exciting new things that are going to be for the podcast going in 2023. And just continue to grow, meet new people. This podcast has been a blessing. Guys, with that being said, as I said, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, smash the like button if you like this. If you're not already subscribed on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And double check, because sometimes you think you're subscribed, but you're really not. It helps our algorithm, right? Also, if you're watching this after the fact, I do appreciate the people who did comment in tonight. But if you are watching this after the fact on a rebroadcast, you can still feel free to comment in. We'll still get the comments, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. Number 3, well, guys, it's the end of 2022. Be true and be you. Focus on you, and others will too. Happy New Year, guys. 2023. It's going to be a big year this year. I'm looking forward to it. But Happy New Year's, guys. If you're watching this after the fact too, comment what your New Year's plans are. But with that being said, I think I'm just going to end it here, guys. Appreciate everybody who's tuned in. If you're watching after the fact, I appreciate you as well. I'll see you on the other side in 2023. Have a safe and healthy weekend. And I'll talk to you guys next week for episode 112. See ya. Play an outro as we're kind of going out.